Story 1. AITAH for telling husband it was his choice to open our marriage and I am not closing it. I 40F married my husband 42M 18 years back. We have one daughter 16F and son 14M. We met in college and felt in love. My husband lost his parents in accident and as friend I consoled him and we became close. We are from same city and he lived around 10 km from my house, so we just clicked. Our marriage has our own share of ups and downs, but financially we are in good place. I own a house gifted by my parents and he inherited his parents' house after their passing away. I run my own bridal boutique and make good money. He is insurance head. We have bought multiple properties and build our future together and for our children. We also have created mutuals will, in case one parent has to pass away, his or her share of assets will go to our children only, irrespective of living parent marrying again or not. Last year my husband started distancing and I was worried. He started ignoring me, stopped getting physical, etc. In end, he told me, he find me fat, ugly, and he doesn't get a turn on. I was so busy in raising kids and my business that I stopped caring about it. He said he doesn't want to destroy the family, but he wants to have sex outside marriage. He said he won't be hypocrite, and I can do same. I cried and begged, but he didn't listen. After weeks of crying and self-pity, I accepted this proposal. I also started working out and guys in gym started hitting on me. I have had my share of hookups and fun, but finally I am getting along with a man who is 35. He treats me on dates and sex is good. I also changed my dressing from traditional to more Western and sexy and have lost weight. I have nice curves too. My husband luckily or sadly didn't have such luck. He is tall and all, but he overrated his chances. He got hookups here and there, but barely they repeated him. He thought he can woo girls with money. But girls today are independent and can't be wooed with money only. I was going on dates when my kids were at my parents' and he was pissed. He said not to go. I didn't care and went. Now he is saying he want to close this marriage and I just laughed at him. I told this is the arrangement he wanted and I am honoring it. I am enjoying the attention these hunks give me and it's not my fault women don't want him. He started calling me names and I called him a man-whore asterisk. He is threatening divorce and I am fine with it because our laws favor woman more. I pointed that to him. He started crying and begging to close the marriage again, but I am refusing. Edit. 35M is in divorce process and our country take years to have divorce if wife isn't consenting. We are taking it slow, but he is amazing man, Ada. Edit. Our children have no idea and we are involved parents. Stop stressing about them. Also planning to get divorced when both are in college. Peas who think it's fake. You can believe what you want to. I don't have to prove anything here. I am here for judgment. Edit. I had to add people who are blaming me for staying fat. Despite both working, my evenings went to teaching kids and taking care of household. He thought it's woman's job to do so. He was only fun dad. In the mornings, I had to prepare breakfast for all. I had house help for cleaning and dishes, but I barely had time to work out. Now I have hired cook and kids who can take care of themselves. It gives me free time to work on myself. If he wanted a model, he could have reduced his tummy and his daily sports and helped me as well, thank you. Edit men in comment section victimizing my husband. Expected. Keep barking. Relevant comments. Zonked 282. Has there ever been a guy who requested to open up the marriage who wasn't vastly overestimating his chances with women? Diary of a Canadian. Oof. NTA. It's not really opening the marriage if you didn't want. He just really wanted to cheat on you without consequences. I get the feeling that even if you didn't agree, he'd still shoot his shot with other women. But I'd go ahead and get that divorce. He doesn't respect your opinion or care about hurting you. NTA. Move on with someone that treats you like a person. You might be racist. H. He's a douchebag, but it sucks that you only took care of your body once you wanted to attract other men. It sucks that he called you ugly, but you did something about it not to gain his attention back, but to gain others. And for that, you're all assholes. Poor kids. Update December 15th, 2024. Well, I realize there is no point in petty revenge. As kids were at my parents' house, we discussed plans and I told him I have no love and respect for him left, nor I find him attractive anymore. I told him if he want to make a tough divorce process, he will lose more as our laws are very tough on men. So let's make an easy divorce with fair division of properties where I contributed more anyways. There were tears and begging, but I stood firm and asked for a divorce. I showed him proof and said if he ever tried to shame me in front of kids, I had his visual and text proofs with me too. So we called a truce. Next day, we involved our lawyers, neighbors, family, friends, and draw up our property and fund division verbally. It was quite clear. The Marshall house is mine. He is moving to his inherited house few kms away. We have acquired multiple properties and we will divide them on value. The savings will be divided, and we have our retirement plans. He also blurted out that he has a young widow GF. I said good luck and happy life. We told our kids that we love them, but we are going to divorce. OFC, they were devastated. But we assured them that we are here for them forever and will co-parent. They are still upset, and we will hire a therapist to make process smoother for them. Also, my FWB divorce process is going, and I told him about mine. He said to get serious about our relationship. I don't know if it's love or not, but I like him, and we are going to take it slow. I want my kids to be 18 before I marry again. Note he was already in divorce process for years, even before we started hanging out. So nope, I am not a homewrecker. Peas. To all crybaby men who were crying for my husband and asking me why I didn't lose weight. Wake up 5 a.m. in morning, do the chores for lazy man and kids, then go to work. Come evening, do chores again till night, and then tell me about working out. You just couldn't handle a woman giving same dose of medicine to a man. And blamed me more and gave him very less blame. This shows your double standards. I only became fat birthing his children. Birth do things to body. What about his hairy tummy? Without birthing or any medical issues? I hired a cook from my personal fund money since he didn't want to contribute for it. That's why I didn't hire her earlier, as it was causing issues to our budget. I took the hit after he called me fat and ugly. I hope your fathers and sons do same to their wives, and then he can lecture me. So, if you live in 1950 where wife should look sexy, do chores, birth your kids, and be available as maid. Then you are as pathetic. So fuck you, you are male chauvinist pigs. And anyone who think it is fake, I don't owe you anything anyways. Edit, and someone said my English is Jen's. Guess what? It's not my first language, and we used WhatsApp outside America. We like such abbreviations. Shocking? Age isn't a factor here. I'm a business shop owner. My dealings are in local language. I studied in Hindi medium school, and English is self-learnt. It must be shocking for Westerners to realize world doesn't need to learn everything aspect of English. Also deleting my account. For men and pigs, keep seething and cope in my comment section. Women can make you cry in your game if they want. We don't because we value our family and kids. But try them and hurt them. They can best you at your own game. Decided not to delete I'd. Trash racist Western men are crying in my comment section. Their tears give me joy. Keep relevant, comma. Jandrew. I'm a man, and I have literally zero respect for men who complain about fat women or a fat partner while being a fat lazy POS themselves, LOL. They complain like, why don't women like gamers or men who play with Legos? My guy, there are men with loving partners who do that. It's the fact you have a double standard of putting all your time into your hobbies while being out of shape, while expecting a partner who is in shape. Perfection pending. I'll never understand men that don't comprehend the gap in ability to find casual sex partners between men and women. If his wife is a female 6, 7, then he needs to be a male 10 to get the same play on the casual sex market. And to jump to wanting to step out of the marriage rather than saying, hey babe, let's work on getting healthier and in shape together, is just a sign you don't deserve that person. Teach at the beach. As someone who was in a number of swinger and poly groups, I was constantly amazed at the contrast between women second-guessing themselves and their sad self-esteem, and I mean there was no difference between women who were conventionally unattractive and women who were stunning, and the unbelievable confidence every cliché dude walked in with, positive that pussy was about to rain down upon him. It was hilarious to me every single time that the women got so much more attention, and he would just be sitting there, alone and confused, with his sad dick out. Every single time. Editor's note. As OOP alludes to, some people believe this was fake. Looking at OOP's other posts, prior to her deleting the account, she was consistent in language and tone, but whether the story and events are true, I'll leave that judgment to you. Fortune-telling boobs. Congrats on losing about 180 pounds in one day. Best wishes to your kids and to you in your new life. Your ex is probably trying to make you jealous talking about his young GF. Don't even pay it any mind. The best revenge is living well, and you're doing it. Italianize 603. Fake. You called lawyers and got them together the next day? Hepf_robot. Magical 3 days before update. Creative writing is fun when people take the rage bait. Story 2. AITAH for just deciding not to travel because my wife made reservations for Disney again? My wife Jess and I have been married for the past 13 years. We're both 39. After experiencing financial hardship throughout our 20s and early 30s, Jess and I are now fortunate enough to have the means to travel once or twice a year. The only problem is that Jess literally only wants to go to Disney World. We have been to Disney 9 times now, and every vacation we have ever taken together was to go there, including our honeymoon. So we go, we eat the Mickey Mouse ice cream, we wear the mouse ears, we stay in the official hotels, we see the characters, we ride the rides, we take the pictures in front of Cinderella's castle, and we come home. Every trip. I'm honestly beyond sick of Disney, and I never really liked going in the first place. Jess knows this, but she has no concept of travel beyond Disney. We're currently planning a trip for April, and Jess, as usual, said that we can just go to Disney. I explained that it sounds fun, but hey, why don't we go somewhere like Hawaii this time? Jess was confused. She asked why we would go to Hawaii. I responded that we could enjoy the spas and go to the beach. Jess mumbled a half-hearted answer and walked away. A few days later, she approached me, saying that she made hotel reservations for Hawaii. At first, I was excited because although she did so without consulting me, it seemed like she was really listening. But then when she showed me the hotel she booked, I found she had made reservations for Aulani, the Disney resort in Hawaii. Frustrated, I told her that I'm honestly tired of Disney and that I just want to have a different experience this time. She told me that she was compromising with me and that I should be appreciative for the time she spent. I asked her if she was willing to consider anything other than Disney for our trip, and she said no. At this point, I said that I wasn't going. Now she's furious. She canceled the reservation she made, and now she's looking for a friend to go to Disney World with again without me. Was I the asshole here for not trying to accommodate her request? AITAH has no consensus bot. OOP received the majority of NTAs and few others. Top comments. Commenter 1. How the fuck did this go on for 9 trips without you saying something? I'd have gone mad after going a second time. Commenter 2. FFs. Does she realize there's a whole non-Disney world out there? And it's much less expensive with shorter lines? Commenter 3. However, you should also consider being more truthful with your wife. If you can't even be truthful to your wife, who can you be truthful with? It obviously did not sound fun at all to you, so just be clear on that. In fact, the second time she booked the Disney trip, you should have been honest with her and suggested something else. Commenter 4. At 39, it might be time to consider broadening her horizons and embracing more of what the world has to offer. Life is too short to be spent solely between home and Disney when there's so much out there waiting to be explored. Update, December 20th, 2024, 1 week later. About a week ago, I made a post about an argument my wife Jess and I had. The TLDR version of it is, Jess loves going to Disney World, and we have gone there for literally every trip during our marriage, which is now at an impressive 9 times. When I asked Jess if we could go somewhere like Hawaii, she suggested Aulani, the Disney resort, and I dismissed the idea immediately. This upset Jess. Here's the update. I screwed up. I know most people were giving me the NTA judgment, but Jess actually showed a great deal of openness to my idea. She took initiative by reserving the hotel because she wanted me to be happy. When I said nope, no Disney, she felt that I hadn't put any effort into taking her feelings into consideration. And she was completely right. I hadn't. It was, in a twisted way, my form of revenge for dragging me to Disney World all those times. In the last post, some people commented about how Alani barely even looks like a Disney resort at all. This is something I should have researched myself before I threw the gauntlet down with Jess. When I looked into it, it looks like a run-of-the-mill Hawaiian resort. In my defense, going to Disney World 9 times has kind of made me sensitive, and I'm fairly sure that on a Rorschach test I'd see nothing but mouse ears at this point, but I really should not have jumped to conclusions. A day after I made the post, I approached Jess and apologized. I was wrong. Yes, she might be a Disney adult, but aside from always wanting to go to their theme parks, she's never obnoxious about it. I said I was sorry and asked for permission to reserve the hotel again. And Jess responded that she'd love to go to Alani with me. When I told her that it's not really all that Disney, Jess said, "Of course I knew that. I wanted to go because my sister said it was beautiful." I'm a moron. Jess and I have replanned our vacation, and we're super excited to be going now. I came to this realization because a lot of people pointed out some things I should have figured out myself. Thank you. Come on. Commenter 1. Man, did you get gaslit? 9 fucking vacations in a row to Disney. Did she take your feelings into account any of those 9 times? Nope. Commenter 2. What do you mean she's never been obnoxious about it? She dragged you to Disney 9 times in your marriage, ignoring your communicating that you wanted to go somewhere else. When you put your foot down, she scheduled 10th Disney vacation, just at a different Disney location. Is this even OP? Did she tie you up and gag you with Mickey Mouse ears typing on your account? Because her behavior is not okay, and a 10th Disney trip when you said no more Disney is zero compromise on her part. Do you need to be extracted? Commenter 3. This update actually makes me sad. I'm sure Alani is lovely, but Jess still is not considering your feelings, and you still aren't standing up for yourself. You need to communicate, respectfully, calmly, and like adults. Maybe this is a good bridge to less Disney-centric vacations. Maybe not. But unless you communicate your frustrations, you're going to be going to something Disney-themed next time, too. Story 3. AITAH for canceling on our family cruise? So my parents wanted to do a cruise for the holidays. They invited me, 25F, my boyfriend, 27M, my brother, 28M, and his girlfriend, 26F. My brother, let's call him James, has always been the golden child. Some backstory. Back in high school, when James was discovered to be selling pills, he was just going through a phase. Meanwhile, when I got caught smoking weed, my parents threatened to kick me out. James lost his scholarship and dropped out of college 3 different times, but he's still perfect. I graduated a semester late and I didn't try hard enough. James still lives in the state where he attending college, and I live in my home state near my parents. He doesn't work. He's not currently in school. My parents buy him flights all the time to come visit, but don't buy me a flight to go see him or go anywhere else. My parents send him money for rent and life necessities. He bought a $2,000 dog recently with that money. When I got my first big job at age 22, my parents immediately kicked me off their insurance since I had the option of benefits. James was on their insurance until he turned 26. Last year, I got laid off and moved back in with my parents to save money. When I got my new job, my parents told me I needed to pay $10,000 in back rent, which was never discussed previously. I did finish paying it off and recently moved in with my boyfriend. This has been a pattern my whole life. James gets everything handed to him and I have to work my ass off. So now to the cruise. My parents said they wanted to do this and bought tickets for themselves, James and his girlfriend. They told me to get my own ticket since I have a well-paying job. I was super upset and told them it wasn't fair that I was the only one who had to buy their own ticket. My boyfriend couldn't come due to holiday plans with his own family. My parents said I was acting spoiled and that green wasn't a good look on me. I am so tired of hearing that phrase at this point. They said it's not like I had to get a nice room since we'd be outside it the majority of the time anyway, which is true, but then why get James a nice room? I decided I had enough and I wasn't going. But here's where I may be the asshole. I let them continue thinking I was for months. Then, on the night before they left, they said to get to their house by 8 a.m. so we could start the drive to the port. At 8:30 that day, they start messaging me asking where I am. I texted them, "Since you didn't want to put the effort in to have me join you, I will be attending my boyfriend's Thanksgiving instead. Have a nice trip with your favorite child." Then I muted the chat. I talked to some friends about this, and some said it was petty of me to cancel with no warning, and others said I should have sucked it up and gone since I would have had fun when I got there. They've been on the cruise for a couple days now, and I'm starting to regret how I handled things. Yeah, I probably would have had fun, and it's not like I couldn't afford the ticket. I also could have handled the delivery better. But at the same time, I'm so sick of them treating me like this. So, AITAH for canceling on our family vacation. AITAH has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA. Top comments. Commenter 1. Wait, did I read it correctly that they charged you $10K back rent, which had never been discussed prior, and you paid it? NTA, but I would have gone low contact with them and definitely not even contemplated going on a trip with them. Save that for people that enjoy you, OP. Commenter 2. That's when OP should have gone low, no contact. OP needs to make sure that they are never in a position to rely on their parents again. They obviously care significantly less than their golden child. I can't wait until they are elderly, and wondering why their golden child doesn't really help them, and OP hasn't contacted them in years. It's going to be rough on them at that point. Commenter 3. It was definitely petty, but honestly, why would you want to spend more time with family that treats you like that? I understand them paying things to your brother since he can't afford, and it's their money, but to imply that you're jealous when they're clearly favoring your brother all that time. They still went to the cruise, so I don't think it was a big deal. I'd go low to no contact with them, since they seem to be indifferent to your presence, and it would save you a lot of trouble too. Commenter 4. They bought tickets for James and his girlfriend? They even like his girlfriend more than you? NTA. If you're to be the black sheep anyway, give them a proper reason. Update #1. December 2nd, 2024. 4 days later. Apologies in advance, because this will be a long post. First off, hi everyone. Sorry for posting and then dropping off the face of the earth, haha. I wrote the original post at work during my break, and then as soon as the day ended, my boyfriend and I headed up to the cabins his family rented for the holidays. I wanted to be fully present with them, so I didn't actually have a chance to check this until today, and I can't believe how many people chimed in. I appreciate everyone who took the time to share their thoughts, even though I wasn't able to get through all of them. I tried reading some comments, but got overwhelmed by the sheer amount there was and gave up after scrolling for 20 minutes. So instead of responding to people individually, I will try to address some common things I saw in the comments. If there's anything I missed addressing, let me know and I will try my best to provide an answer. Skip ahead like 10 paragraphs if you want to get straight to the update. I am prone to yap a good bit. Obviously, I'll start with the $10K in back rent. To me, the number itself wasn't the issue. I mean, yeah, it is definitely a bit higher than I would have liked, but not completely unreasonable. For the amount of time I lived there, it's not like I would have been able to rent my own place at a cheaper price, and if I hadn't moved in with them, I would have completely depleted my savings and probably gone into debt. While I was laid off and looking for a new job in my field, I had a serving job and did some freelance writing work as well, so I was contributing to groceries but not paying rent or utilities. Because of that, I understood why my parents wanted help once I was in a position to do so. I just wished they had defined that expectation from the beginning instead of springing it on me as a surprise. I paid it because I know it was an inconvenience for my parents to have me stay so long, especially during some home renovations, and it didn't feel worth the pushback if I refused. I know it would have turned into a whole big issue and it just felt easier to pay the money. Yes, I probably have some pushover tendencies that I need to address. Luckily, I'm in a well-paying field, I'm a technical writer, so once I got my new position, I was able to pay my parents back in about 6 months while also saving up to move out. The timeline for anyone curious is, I was laid off in January of last year. I used my savings to pay rent until my lease was up in June, and then I moved in with my parents. I lived with my parents from June of last year till September of this year, when I moved in with my boyfriend. I got my current job in May, which is when my parents told me that they wanted back rent and rent moving forward until I moved out. They said it was to help motivate me to get back on my feet. So not all of it was back rent technically, but I just used that term to try and be more concise. By the time I moved out, the total amount I owed had added up to the $10K, and I had already paid off most of it. I also saw a couple comments about pursuing legal action against my parents, but I don't think that's worth it or even possible. We never had a written contract, and I didn't argue against paying it. I didn't want them to be able to hold that over me. Going through any legal issue would just dredge the whole thing up again, and I'd rather not do that. It's paid now, so at least it's over with. In the future, I know I should probably be less willing to give in to their demands. It's just difficult when things have been this way. My whole life and my experiences have shown me that any refusal paints me as ungrateful in their eyes. I try so hard to be perfect because I just want them to treat me with the same care and support as they do with James. The worst part is, James and I were super close growing up. When we were kids, we hung out all the time. He was the one who taught me how to ride a bike. He stood up for me when I was getting bullied. I don't think he's a bad person at all. He just never learned to stand on his own 2 feet. Our relationship is strained now because he doesn't get why I have issues with our parents. I miss the brother I would stay up playing RuneScape with. I'm pretty sure he fully buys into the idea that he needs extra help since he's always gotten it. He doesn't know how to do or expect anything else. At least he's still nice to me, but he just refuses to see the differences in how we're treated, and he basically wants me to just suck it up and be part of the family. Sadly, all his support just disappeared once it came to issues with our parents. I hope James gets some distance from them one day, and we can reconnect. I don't want our relationship to keep suffering because of this. Sorry to get sappy for a second. But back to the comments. Another thing I saw some people ask is why I didn't tell them sooner that I was canceling. I know that was a petty move on my part, but had I told them earlier, they would have spent those months trying to convince me to go and insulting me if I continued to refuse. It seemed like such a hassle, and the way I did it was much easier. And yeah, maybe this is shitty of me, but I did get some satisfaction out of it. It felt good to treat them at the same level they treat me. Besides, it's not like it actually affected their trip. They still went, just without me. Many of the comments brought up the idea of going low contact or no contact with my family, and it is something I've now been considering. My boyfriend is supportive of this decision since he has seen firsthand how my parents are. I'm sure my friends will be supportive as well if I explain the full story. Most of them have never met my parents, and I've tried not to get into the whole family dynamic with my friends, since it's depressing for me to talk about, and I also didn't want to come off as just whining all the time. Prior to this, they've only heard some small complaints here and there. With all that out of the way, here's what happened since my last post. My boyfriend and I got to the cabin late Wednesday night. I gave his mother a bouquet of her favorite flowers, and she loved them. We had a quick glass of wine while talking with his family before heading to bed. I was still a bit uncertain of my decision, so I probably wasn't as peppy as usual, but they didn't seem to mind. That night I made a promise to myself that I would put my own family issues aside during the trip and just focus on having a good time with my boyfriend's family, who have always been so gracious to me. On Thursday, we woke up early and helped his mom with some preparation for the food and set the table. After, we played some cornhole with his cousins and sadly lost due to my complete lack of athletic ability. The Thanksgiving meal itself was delicious, and his mom is such a good cook. Everyone was very sweet to me and made me feel so welcome as part of the family, which helped me feel much better about my decision to spend the holidays with them. Towards the end of the night, his mom even said to me that she knows it is ultimately up to my boyfriend, but she hopes I can join the family for real someday. I told her I would be honored if that happens, and we hugged. I really do hope it will. I love my boyfriend so much, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. His family is also an incredible bonus. I had such a wonderful time on Thanksgiving and enjoyed the rest of the weekend as well. We went on some great hikes, hung around by the bonfire, played board games, and watched movies. My boyfriend also spent some time looking after his little nephew, and watching them play with Legos together definitely gave me some slight baby fever, though that is not something I want to act on for at least a couple years. We got back yesterday afternoon, and I'm already missing everything. It was genuinely a blast, and there was no family drama, which made my family seem like even more of a mess. I feel like I'm rambling a bit now. Honestly, I probably have been the whole time, but I'm just so excited to share what a good time I had during the holiday and that I definitely made the right decision. Unfortunately, this update isn't entirely positive. I wish it could be. My parents reached out last night and they still weren't happy about my choice. I guess the sea air and unlimited drinks didn't do enough to relax them. My dad sent a passive-aggressive text of cruise pictures with a message that said, "Sad that you chose not to be with your family in such beautiful places." And I sent back a picture from my trip with my boyfriend's family and said, "Looks like you guys had a good time, so did we." Then my mom called and said she hoped I regretted missing out on a great family vacation and spoiling their memory due to a petty grudge against my brother. I told her my issue wasn't with James, but rather their unfair preferential treatment between the two of us. My mom said that I was the one being unfair by comparing our situation, since James needs help while he figures out his direction in life, and I've always been much more independent. I told her the only reason that's true is because they never truly allowed me to depend on them. She said she wasn't going to apologize for raising a self-sufficient daughter, and that I should either grow up and be grateful for everything they've done or leave them alone for good, and break their hearts all at once instead of doing it piece by piece. She called me cruel for dangling the hope of a wonderful holiday only to snatch it away at the last second, even though they seemed to be just fine without me there based on the photos my dad sent and what they posted on social media. I was really upset by this point and pointed out multiple examples of how they prioritize James, just hoping I could finally make her understand how growing up like this has affected me. My mom said I had a lot of nerve to put their parenting under a microscope when I have no children myself and have never had to make tough decisions. I had enough of the conversation and said, I guess I'll just leave you guys alone like you want, since I'll never be enough for this family anyway. I hung up and started crying, but my boyfriend was really supportive as always, and we spent the rest of the night eating ice cream and watching The Hunger Games to cheer me up. I absolutely loved the series and am so excited for Haymitch's movie to come out. It was weird to go back to work today after everything and act like nothing was the matter, but I think it was also a good distraction. Since I chose my boyfriend's holiday plans instead of my family's, I actually came back feeling mostly refreshed, besides the events of last night, instead of drained like I most likely would have been after the cruise. I haven't heard anything more from my parents yet, but I have a feeling they're just bluffing. I'm sure once they need something they'll reach out, or they'll probably try and smooth things over by Christmas so they don't have to explain the situation to our extended family. I haven't decided yet if I'll be open to reconciling. On one hand, I know I deserve better than to be treated as a burden and an afterthought while doing so much for them. I'm tired of trying to live up to their expectations, and I'm not optimistic about their behavior ever changing. But on the other hand, they are my family, and it's just so difficult to fully walk away. I just want to feel the love and acceptance from my own family that I get from my boyfriend's family. Why is it so hard for them to treat me like I matter? I'm also worried that if I don't make nice with them, they'll twist the story to make me seem like the problem, and my extended family will be mad at me too. There are people I like within my family, but my parents have a lot of influence over everyone's opinions. I don't know if it's worth putting up with them to at least keep some ties to my family, or if it would be better to accept the loss and move on from a dynamic where I am clearly not appreciated. I want to keep my brother at least, but maybe I'm just holding on to the past and that version of James doesn't exist anymore. I hope that's not true. I just don't know how to get through to him since he is so brainwashed by my parents and thinks they can do no wrong. I'm not sure if I'll ever truly get my brother back. I've got some big things to think about now, and I don't know if I'm ready to make sure a major change to my life. I do believe I'd feel much freer and lighter if I at least distance myself from them and maybe even cut contact entirely. I guess I'll just have to see what happens. I'm sure I already know the answer to this. But is it stupid to still hold out hope that things can work out? Relevant. Comment? OOP should reach out to her relatives to inform and stick to her reasons, including the budget concerns for not attending any of her future family events. OOP. Damn, that is honestly a really smart idea in getting ahead of it. Knowing my parents, they'll slip up at some point and complain about me being unreasonable for not agreeing to pay, so that would be a good step toward the rest of the family seeing the difference in how they treat James versus me. I think focusing on the budget aspect and wanting to save money will help smooth things over. I'm not sure what, if anything, my parents have already said to our extended family, but hopefully I can turn the focus away from anything they can use as ammo against me. That being said, I still haven't decided if it's even worth my time to repair things. Maybe it's easier to just slink away from the family entirely, but I'm not sure if I'm strong enough to do that. I will be moving forward with your idea in case I choose to keep my family in my life. OOP explains more about her brother James and his living situation, and how their parents are supporting him. OOP. James doesn't live with my parents. They just fund his whole life. Hopefully he'll become more independent someday, and then he'll realize what they're like. He kind of just floats through life right now with no motivation, which is really sad to see. As a kid, James used to have such big dreams of becoming an artist, and he was really great and passionate about it. But then he went for a STEM degree since it makes more money and he is really smart, which is why he got a scholarship in the first place. I don't think he was prepared to struggle in college since everything else came easy to him, and he just started falling apart after that. He leaned on our parents heavily since they've always been there for him, and I think he's too scared to try anything on his own again. I really do hope that one day he figures his life out. Maybe then we'll be able to be close again. Is James's girlfriend also funding his lifestyle? OOP. His girlfriend is currently in grad school, which her parents pay for, so both of them are having their lives funded, but at least she is striving towards a goal. Commenter, your mother will never admit that she has been less than generous to you than to your brother. Bottom line. You paid the back rent your parents requested, and you know they will never expect your brother to pay them anything. I do think things can work out, and you can have some sort of relationship with your parents and brother, at least be on speaking terms. But don't ever let yourself be treated like Miss Tag-Along, who is the family Cinderella. I suggest you be very strong in your mindset that you are never going to raid your savings to attend a family function trip, that you would be treated as less than your brother in their esteem. OOP. That's a fair point. If I do attend family functions in the future, they certainly won't be ones where I'm paying large sums of my own money. Down the road, I could be open to going to a family barbecue or something similar. Nothing that requires travel. Update #2, December 20th, 2024, 18 days later. I'm going to try to keep this one brief since my last update was so long. Not sure how to link my previous posts since I'm on mobile, but they're available on my profile. I took the advice of some commenters and reached out to my favorite aunt, my dad's sister. I told her that unfortunately I would not be at Christmas this year, and I will be taking a break from the family for my own mental health. Yet I hoped that her and her children enjoy their time and have a great holiday. She said she understood and was proud of me. That made me feel better, and helped me feel brave enough to finally cut the cord. On Wednesday night, my mom texted me for the first time since our phone call, saying, "If you're done trying to break apart the family, we expect you to be here by 9:30 on Christmas." I told her the only ones responsible for breaking apart the family are her and my dad, and they should not expect me at Christmas or any future events. I said that I have finally learned to go where I am wanted, and that is simply not with them. I could tell she was ramping up to one of her rants, insulting and belittling me, so I then blocked her and my dad. I haven't blocked James yet, though, as that will depend on his response if he reaches out. I already feel so empowered, like a weight has been lifted off me. And on a much happier note, my boyfriend and I are leaving to go on a ski trip for the holidays as soon as we are done with work today. I truly appreciate everyone who took the time to read my posts and offer advice. It was due to the kindness of all you internet strangers that I finally had the strength to cut them out of my life. Thank you so much, and happy holidays, everyone. quick P.S. I included that side note in my past update about the Hunger Games, as I was hoping to talk about the franchise with people. At my core, I am still the Tumblr fandom blogger I was as a child, haha. Sadly, no one took the bait as there were more important parts of my post to address. That being said, if anyone wants to talk Hunger Games with me, you know where to find me. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Yay for you. I do wonder if you'll be expected to pick up the torch and help James once your parents pass on or run out of money. OP. There is a high likelihood that they expect me to do so, but thankfully their expectations are no longer my responsibility. Commenter 2. Glad to hear you're going no contact. When you spoke to your aunt, did you give her any reasoning or background about how things are with your parents? Does she understand the situation? Maybe the distance will give your parents time to reflect on their actions as to how things got to this point. Or they'll double down and play the victim all Christmas. Either way, I hope you and your boyfriend have an incredible holiday season. You deserve it. Don't worry about what your parents do or think. They don't deserve the thought space. OOP. I didn't outright list the reasons, but once I said for my mental health, she immediately understood what I was getting at. It turns out I am not the only one who noticed my parents' behavior, but they had done such a good job of making me feel isolated and alone in my opinions that I truly didn't believe anyone else would be on my side. I'm very glad that's not actually the case. Does James and his girlfriend have any kids? OP should keep her future kids away from her parents. OP. He doesn't have any kids yet, but my boyfriend and I have said we wouldn't want to start trying until we've been married for a couple years, so I assume James will have some before me. Hopefully, that'll help that situation be avoided. Commenter 3. Sounds like you made the right call for your own peace of mind. Cutting toxic ties is tough, but it's clear you're already feeling the benefits. Plus, a ski trip with your boyfriend sounds like the perfect way to celebrate your newfound freedom. Enjoy the slopes and the holidays. Also, Hunger Games fan here. What's your take on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Team Snow or Team literally anyone else? OP, thank you. I'm very excited for the holidays since I'll actually be with someone I love who loves me back. So, I haven't read the book yet, only watched the movie. I have to say I'm slightly Team Snow, but I think I may be biased due to Tom Blythe looking so fine, haha. Story 4. AITAH for wanting to report my doctor, who is my sister's best friend, for telling her I'm on Vivancy, a HIPAA violation. Conclusion. My oldest sister's lifelong best friend has been my doctor for a couple of years. Initially, my doctor, Dr. A, was a colleague of hers from the same clinic, but after my doctor, Dr. A, was away on maternity leave, I temporarily switched to my sister's friend, Dr. B, as my primary physician, and it's been that way since the pandemic began and I never switched back. I have ADHD and get prescription meds for it and have been for a few years now. Something I haven't shared with any of my family members for fear of backlash since I come from a long line of type A overachievers who don't believe in ADHD and write it off as laziness. A few days ago, my siblings and I were hanging out at my sister's house watching the Matthew Perry, Diane Sawyer episode where he shares his history with Substance about, and I made a comment about how skinny he looked during one of the seasons of Friends. My sister then, out of nowhere, says to me, "Well, it started with prescription drugs, so I hope you don't get hooked." I was instantly gripped with a feeling of absolute horror. My other siblings were confused and looking at her for further clarification, but she didn't say anything more. I spent the whole night just frozen and with a deep pit in my stomach. Later, when I found some time alone with her, I had to pry the information out of her. She had just gotten back from a girls' ski trip, and when they were extremely drunk, her friend, my Dr. B, slipped up and mentioned that she saw me recently for an increase in my dosage and basically revealed to my sister that I have been taking prescription Vivance for a few years now. I'm so livid, feel utter betrayal, and have a strong urge to report her for breaking HIPAA regulations. My sister won't stop texting and calling me about it, literally all day long, begging me not to ruin her friend's life forever after years of hard work. She's obviously worried about losing her friend, but she couldn't care less about how disrespected I feel and how my privacy was violated. And more than anything, I worry that my sister will share it with my parents, and my family will never look at me or my achievements the same. ETA. A little more info. I've known Dr. B my entire life, as long as my sister has. She was my sister's friend since they were in first grade, and they've remained close, and we've hung out with our families on multiple occasions over the years. We've even gone on trips together, including my sister's bachelorette. I always looked up to her and found her cool growing up. She and my sister both have kids around the same age, and they're close as well. She currently brings in the bigger chunk of the income in their family, and they rely on it. And my sister keeps reminding me that I'm also ruining 2 innocent children's lives in the process, which is the only thing I feel guilt about. I adore those kids, and they don't deserve that. But I also cannot get over how betrayed I feel. I always keep a safe distance between personal and professional relationships, and would have never picked her to be my doctor had the circumstances not unfolded the way it did. She was the next best doctor and was the obvious choice, because I wasn't really looking to switch to a new clinic during the pandemic. Relevant comment? OOP, on her sister's personality. Dr. B doesn't know that my sister told me yet. So far, it's just been conversations between my sister and I. She's making it seem like they were so sloppy drunk that it was a slip-up and a complete one-time total accident. But I don't understand why that would even come up at all, and don't believe that. My older sister flaunting sensitive info about my sibs and I is a tale as old as time. When we were kids, she would hold on to a secret she found out about one of us till the perfect moment, and would thrive on dropping the bombshell to our parents during a road trip or in the interval of a great movie and ruin the entire thing. It was her thing, and I fear she hasn't fully gotten over the habit as an adult. My older sister considers herself our parent too, and has always narked or used stuff as leverage against us. I used to fear her growing up and would hide my journals at my friend's house because she would snoop. Definitely lacks empathy. Update #1. March 8th, 2023, 3 months later. Thank you for all the advice and support on my original post. After reading the feedback, I reached out to a close lawyer friend for advice as well, and he, like most of you, agreed that I should report it and to do it without informing anyone else. He said it was better for me to do it sooner to have it on record. They prefer any complaint to be filed within 180 days of when you knew that the act or omission complained of occurred. 2 days after that, I reported Dr. B to OCR for violating HIPAA and Patient Safety Act and breaching my fundamental right to health information privacy. I didn't tell my sister or anyone else, but a few days later, I saw my entire family when I went home for the holidays. I hadn't heard anything back yet on my complaint, so I wasn't sure if Dr. B was aware yet, let alone tell my sister that I had reported her, so I didn't say a word. Turns out that wasn't my biggest issue at that moment, though. My sister had already told my parents that I was on an extremely high dose of controlled substances. I knew my parents wouldn't take this news well, but they were far more upset about it than I could have imagined. My dad doesn't believe in ADHD and thinks it's merely an excuse for those that allow themselves to get easily distracted, especially since the age of social media. He even remarked that he noticed I was quite slow with my responses since dropping out of my chess club. Really absurd and offensive comments. I can't even remember a lot of it because I was frozen. I just sat there, nauseous and livid with tears in my eyes, just listening to the three of them, my parents and sister, take turns going off at me. My mom wanted me to stop all medications immediately, that I'm better than this and smarter than this, and even threatened to tell your professors that you're on drugs if you leave us with no choice. But when she said that, it hit me. I had a choice. I could choose. I could choose to never have to deal with this again and to not let them treat me this way anymore. So I did. I chose to say nothing and allowed them to interpret my silence as agreeing and submitting to their ways, as I have done so many times before. And then I went to my room, chose to book a flight and pack up most of my stuff. My books would need buses of their own to be transported anywhere. The next morning, I chose to call an Uber a few hours before my flight, while they were still asleep, and flew back to my university. I chose me. In January, I found out that Dr. B had prior complaints from patients against her, and my report had opened an investigation that is currently ongoing. She's been placed on temporary leave till the case is resolved. I can't share more details on that for now, but I will come back and update once it's done. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. I also have ADHD and I studied neuroscience, partly because I wanted to understand. I also come from a family that thinks like ops, and I got the same BS from them all my life. We now finally come to be able to make ADHD visible in MRI scans and predict the presence of symptoms with an accuracy of up to 80%. We can make visible the ways ADHD brains are different from normal brains, not in their structure, but in the way they make use of it. We can see where our bodies use more oxygen and neurotransmitters, and ADHD brains are visibly different from normal ones in a way that is congruent with the symptoms. We can even tell apart the inattentive type and the hyperactive type with an accuracy of up to 75%. People who say ADHD patients are lazy and their symptoms are their own choices, and character flaw are as ignorant and backwards as someone still believing the flu is caused by bad air or cancer, is God's will. If this family is so smart, they are doing a really good job at remaining ignorant. With all the evidence out there, they have to really choose not to read and educate themselves and become advocates for their child and sibling, but instead actively avoid the newest scientific evidence that their opinion is stupid and they have been shitty people all along. It took me 30 years to make the step you made. Kudos on being so brave and mature while still being in college. I'm still trying to come to terms with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and depression. If you can afford it, do some therapy. Growing up in such a negative environment takes its tolls even after you cut the ties. I'm proud of you. The hurdles to get to where you are today were huge and you did it all by yourself. Never forget that. Here's an article about it. This is just a small study in China, but they are happening everywhere and they all come to the same conclusion. OP. I have tears in my eyes. I really needed to read every single thing you typed out here. I'm so tempted to send this to my family, but I don't want to interact with them right now, so I won't. I love science just as much as they do, and studying physics brings me so much purpose. I just know I need some help in staying ahead of my course and completing my assignments, and I'm finally okay with that. In the short time that I've been away from my family, I've felt so much more freedom in accepting who I am. That I am still smart and capable, and that I will still become a scientist, even if I do it my own way, and I am okay with the fact that my family doesn't approve of my choices. If they can't be bothered to listen to me, let alone attempt to learn anything about my diagnosis and try to be there for me, they aren't worth worrying over. I have spent far too much of my life doing that already. I have no more time or energy to give to that anymore. I'm channeling all of that towards me, achieving my goals and healing my trauma. Thank you for listening and for sharing. I'm so grateful for you. OOP on her family. It's their whole image. We come from a long line of scientists, and many of my family members have a PhD. And as far as I know, none of them have been officially diagnosed like I have, or maybe they struggled with it secretly, but their work ethic and achievements are everything to them, and they would never reveal anything that would show otherwise. It's the way we were raised, and I didn't know anything else for most of my life. Anyone who couldn't pay attention was distracted in their eyes, nothing more. Commenter 2. Sad thing is, I get the feeling that you could show all of this to OP's family and it wouldn't make a bit of difference. OOP, it wouldn't. You are so right. I considered it for a second, but you are so very right. I was seriously so blind for years. All I wanted was to be good enough for them. Therapy is now making me realize so many things. It's so bittersweet. My heart aches. The worst part about going no contact with your sister, missing out on getting to hang out with your niece and nephew, March 30th, 2023, 3 weeks later, I don't know how many of you have actually gone NC with your family, especially to the extent that I have currently. But I'd love to hear any advice you might have. At this point, I don't have any form of communication with my parents and older sister, and haven't since December. The most awful part about this whole thing is my inability to reach out to my young niece and nephew, who I'm so close to. Every year I receive a Valentine's Day card from them, and this year I got none. It's incredibly lonely and I don't wish this on anyone. I'm always wondering why they think I haven't called them. As much as I'm growing and healing from this, I'm also dealing with a lot of trauma, and it's rough.
Relevant comment?
OOP, on learning about herself. I think it's so hard for me right now because for years, so much of what mattered to me was getting approval and being good enough for my family, especially since they're all overachievers and place a lot of value in academic excellence. And to feel no support from them at a time when I could really use it. I've never felt so alone and just out of place in this world. But I'm also learning a lot about myself and how codependent I was and relied too much on their opinions to ever even form strong ones of my own. So the bright side to this is figuring myself out. OP, on losing her sister. I've been having an extremely hard time the last few days dealing with this. I'm looking forward to when I can say my life is much healthier and happier without my sister. I know it will come, but right now I'm just experiencing so much sadness as a younger sister who looked up to my sister so freaking much. All I wanted was to be good enough for her to be proud of me or think I was worthy of her time and attention. But I'm not, and coming to terms with that is brutal. Commenter 1. It really is like grieving the death of a loved one. Therapy helps, having support helps, and being kind to yourself helps. For me, a big issue was second-guessing myself. Maybe I'm blowing things out of proportion. I should just apologize again. Those thoughts were hard to get past. OOP. I'm having those exact thoughts. I am currently in therapy, and it is not easy. It seems like so much of the affection I thought I felt from my family wasn't real at all, and most of it in my head. Thank you for sharing with me. It might not seem like much, but it really does help to know there are others out there dealing with similar situations. It is so hard. Commenter 2. Could I make a suggestion to you? Create an email address for them. Something like ilovenephew@gmail and iloveniece@gmail. Then email them every time you would have sent a card or reached out. Send emails that say, Happy Valentine's Day. I miss you guys. Hey, I saw pictures, heard through the grapevine that you did this. That's awesome and I'm proud of you. This reminded me of you today and I wanted to share. I would have the first email to the account be, this is what happened between your mom and dad and I and why I'm no contact. It was never about you guys and I'm always here when you're ready to contact me. Then, when they're old enough to decide for themselves, maybe 18, maybe earlier or later depending on circumstances at that point, you can give them the password, OP. This is a wonderful idea, and I might actually do this. It feels like a good way to express my feelings without bottling them all up. Thank you. OP on trusting herself. It feels so awful to know they don't really have your best interests at heart, and it's a very raw kind of pain. But you are right. I do feel more confident in my decision as each day goes by and know I did the right thing. Update #2, April 14th, 2023, 2 weeks later. Thank you to every single person that has commented, reached out via DM, or shared any advice with me. My ADHD and current anxiety has me extremely overwhelmed, so please excuse me for not being able to respond to each of you individually. I get quite a few questions every day about any update with the case. I'm not sure how so many of you are still finding this post, but I really appreciate everything you've said to me to help me get through this. I'm sorry I can't answer any questions right now. Please know that once I have enough to share or any real information, I most certainly will, but for now there isn't much. The only thing I can share is that I am currently working with an attorney well-versed in AITAH violations who is handling the matter on my behalf. We have received a notice regarding the outcome of the investigation from the OCR, which I am not allowed to share yet. I'm not sure if we, along with the other patients who faced breach of privacy from the same doctor, will be suing because that's usually the most unlikely outcome since it almost always falls on the employers rather than the doctors. I've been told we might proceed with a civil claim. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved and it seems quite complicated, so I don't have a timeline on what to expect yet. I'm just grateful to have a lawyer that knows what they're doing. Thank you for your support. It's been the most hardest and lonely period of my life, and your kind words help me get through it.
Relevant comment?
Commenter 1. Hey, it sounds to be a good update so far. How did the situation with your family turn out? Did they contact you? I hope you're emotionally okay and have the time to heal. OOP. My mom has tried to contact me a few times, but I haven't answered. My dad and sister haven't. I have checked in with my other two siblings a few times when I've just been so incredibly lonely that it feels like the world is ending. I am not emotionally okay at all. I'm going to therapy and getting help for it, but processing trauma is a very hard and painful process. I can't explain to you in words how it feels to have a stranger make you realize your family has never loved you at all. As much as my older sister was a bully to me in some twisted way, she was my idol growing up, and all I wanted was to make her proud of me. I never felt worthy of her time or attention back then, and never did even as an adult with many achievements. And to know she would pick her friends in a heartbeat over me, it really was such a painful stab in my back. I know things will get better. I feel it in waves. I am finding confidence in little things every day. I just found out that my family cut me out of their insurance plan, and I no longer have access to health coverage, including my prescription meds for ADHD or therapy, both of which I really need right now. What are my options? May 24th, 2023, 1 month later. I'm a full-time student under the age of 26, and my health insurance so far had been included in my family's plan under dependent coverage extension. A few months ago, I went NC with my family after they found out I was on prescription Vivance for my ADHD, something they absolutely do not believe in and refuse to support me. 2 weeks ago, I found out that they have taken me off their health plan and have pretty much left me to fend for myself. I haven't been able to get my meds this month, and it has been awful. Since I study full-time, my only means of income is a part-time TA job on campus, which is currently on hold since the semester has ended, and some tutoring I do during my very limited free time. I'm struggling and on the verge of a mental breakdown and could use any advice I can get. What options do I have to get some health coverage or any assistance whatsoever? Sorry if this has been hard to read. My eyes fill up with tears anytime I try to type this out. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. What QLE did they use to drop you? Is one not required on the marketplace plans to experience a life event to drop an enrollee mid-year? OP. Dependent no longer eligible because of full independence is what I was told. I'm currently involved in an ongoing lawsuit due to HIPAA breach by my doctor. It's caused a major rift between my family and me since the doctor is the best friend of my older sister. Hence the NC and probably why they did this. Commenter 2. You most likely will be able to get Medicaid. Do you have a local Department of Social Services you can go to? OOP. Would I be able to qualify for Medicaid independently even though my family has a high disposable income? I'm financially independent but have been on their plan my whole life until last month. I've reached out to a few that were recommended by my university, but since my official address is out of state, where my parents are, I'm having to get those sorted first. Commenter 3. Make sure they're not claiming you as a dependent on their taxes still, but generally yes. It's not based on your family's income since you're not a minor and don't live with them. OOP. I hadn't even considered this. I need to look up how to check if they're claiming me as a dependent. Thank you for pointing this out. My final update. Farewell and thank you for your support. I hope you read this. June 6, 2023, 2 weeks later. Hello everyone. I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you who have reached out, offered advice or a safe space for me to be heard, and provided unwavering support during my time here. Your kindness has been a guiding light in what has been the absolute darkest time of my life. I was so incredibly lonely after making the difficult decision to go no contact with my family. However, amidst this awfully painful period that I wouldn't wish on anyone, I discovered a newfound sense of belonging provided by all of you compassionate strangers of Reddit. To those of you that were proud of me, I cried a long cry for every single time I read those words, and I will carry them with me till the very end. Science is my purpose here. I will rise again and hopefully help change this world for the better someday. As I embark on a healing journey, I've decided to take a step back from here. As someone navigating ADHD, I can sometimes become overwhelmed with feedback. Therapy has taught me the importance of focusing on my mental well-being, and given the financial challenges I'm facing and ongoing legal issues, I will be working 2 jobs to make ends meet and afford the health care and stability I need while I'm off from school. I cannot express how much your support has meant to me, but at this time I must prioritize my responsibilities and take care of myself. Till I'm back, I want to leave you with a quote that resonates deeply within me. Pass on the kindness of strangers, for they have the power to mend the broken and inspire the lost. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for becoming the family I needed when I felt most alone. May your lives be overflowing with happiness, love, and success. Take care.